Good day, everybody. How's it going? I'm the Tchenovstok, and welcome to a brand spanking new series, the city of Tchenovstok. Tchenovstok is a city in northern Russia set in 1979 during the Soviet era, and is what's known as a closed nuclear city. So I recently learned this was a thing. Back in the Soviet days, there were closed cities, either for military, other purposes, and one type of closed city was a nuclear city. So back in the 60s and 70s, nuclear power was all the rage. It was economical. Well, I mean, it was really expensive, but it was the most economical form of producing power. It was reliable, and it was also a good way to assert your dominance. So as you guys probably know, back in the Cold War, it was sort of a race between the US and the Soviet Union, who could produce the best technology, who would appear to be the most advanced. So this is exactly what's going on in Tchenovstok. It's basically just a nuclear city that is designed to look futuristic and wow the world, and just show how powerful the Soviet Union was. So why did I randomly start a Soviet-era city? This is the complete opposite of what you've ever seen from me, but the reason is I just kind of felt like it. I've always had a sort of interest in anything Soviet. Without getting too political, I've just always had a fascination with how the whole Soviet system worked, and all the infamous events that occurred over the years. It's always been like super interesting to me. And what better time to start building a Soviet city than now? On the workshop, there are now a ton of Soviet props and assets, buildings, you name it. There's just a ton of content, so there's enough now to justify building a Soviet city, and that is exactly what we're going to do. So in this episode, guys, we're going to be starting to build what is known as the central square of the city. So this is just something I made up. I'm not even sure if that was really a thing in Soviet cities, but in Tchenovstok, this is the case. So all the administrative buildings and government buildings are sort of going to be located right in the center of the city, and we're eventually going to expand outwards as we move along into the series. And as we move out, it's going to sort of fan out into different residential zones. And this is only the first episode, but we will also eventually get into the Tchenovstok nuclear power plant, which is going to be like a super massive nuclear power plant. That's going to be a fun project. And also Tchenovstok will have, and also eventually I'm planning on building a military airport around Tchenovstok, wherever I can find some flat land, because the terrain around the region is pretty jagged, so that'll be a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, that is just a little sneak peek of what you should expect during this series. I'm really excited to present this to you guys. I've been thinking about starting this type of series probably ever since I've gotten back from PDXCon. Before that, it never really struck me, but being in Berlin and being in a ex-Soviet area, it was just eye-opening to me. All the architecture and all the history, it just sort of gave me that little nudge, and it just gave me the inspiration, I guess, to start this kind of series. So I really hope you enjoy it, guys. It's not a super long episode, and I don't intend on any of these episodes to be very long, and I don't think that this series will drag on as long as Timbuktu, for example. I'm predicting maybe 15, 20 episodes at the most, depending on what I feel like doing, If you guys have a ton of ideas and stuff that you'd like to see, I'm more than willing to incorporate them into the city. I just really want to make this project interesting. I would like to add also that I want this series to be historically accurate to a certain degree. So I want everything to sort of make sense and fit its way into Russian history. So if any of you guys are from Eastern Europe, or you just know a lot about Soviet history, feel free to drop some comments down below with some recommendations on stuff I should include in the series, such as little stories or things that I should build and for what reason. Because I do have a general knowledge of Soviet history. However, I'm probably completely oblivious to many important events that would have happened that I was never either taught in school or, you know, I'm just unaware of it. So yeah, feel free guys to drop a comment down below and I will be sure to acknowledge those. So I really hope that you like what's going on so far. I'm actually surprised on how awesome this looks. Now, it's my first time playing around with any like Eastern European or any European buildings whatsoever, and I don't know, I just find this really cool. It sort of has like that 60s and 70s grungy look to it. Everything is prefabricated, especially this hotel that I plopped down here. So this is going to be like the main city hotel. People from all over the Soviet Union are going to come and visit the Tchenovstok city for whatever reason, and you know, this is the hotel that you would most likely stay in. So it's sort of like post-modern, you know, it almost has like a futuristic kind of look. Imagine if you were back in the 60s and you saw this type of architecture. It must have been mind-blowing. So also in this square, like I said, it's going to be like administrative buildings. So like the two buildings out front would probably be, I don't know, like some government buildings or some administrative offices for the city or the nuclear power plant that we're going to build. I'm not really sure. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. But this green building here, that is a hotel. That is actually the main purpose of the building in the game too. So we're going to stick with that. Now, because I don't intend on Tchenovstok being a huge city, I kind of want it to have the same scale as Chernobyl. Chernobyl is actually the main inspiration behind this city. I've done a lot of research lately on like the city layout, some old maps and stuff of the city when it was fully developed. So I'm going for that sort of feel. I know there's a lot of like different architecture styles in Russia specifically, but I'm going for like that modern, futuristic 60s style type city, I guess. So it's all going to be like prefab buildings just like these ones. That's most likely what you should expect. So you probably already noticed the difference between the modern and the old Tchenovstok from the beginning of this episode. So whereas before we had like some old buildings that were built, I don't know, maybe like 100 years ago, now we have like some super modern architecture and it's just super cool. So, like any other Soviet city back in the day, you can't have enough Soviet flags and banners and propaganda all over town. So in Tchenovstok, that is no exception. And especially in this main square here, if you hadn't noticed, that is a statue of Lenin right in the middle of these trees here. And, you know, it's just the staple of the city. So along that main avenue, you would drive right up to the main square, and you would just be in awe because of like this massive square that was right in front of you with the tall buildings and stuff. So I'm just trying to make the city look as grand while remaining realistic. So anyways guys, that is it for this episode. I still have a bunch of stuff to talk about, but that is going to wait until the next episode. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and also be sure to subscribe to the channel for much more content on the way. And with all that being said guys, until the next episode, please take care.